Today on Passion for Food, we embark on a quest to create a holiday fruitcake that's actually delicious. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of those store-bought fruitcakes. I think they overuse that candied fruit, and I think they're a little bit nasty. So I decided to create my own fruitcake recipe with some flavors that I know work well together, and it came out awesome. So let's go ahead and jump in here and talk about the fruits. We've got a combination of 3 here, starting with about 8 ounces of these golden figs. It doesn't have to be the golden variety. I mostly picked these because I wanted to give a little bit of color contrast against our next fruit, about 12 ounces of dried pitted dates. You can get these whole as well, but dealing with that is really the pits. Next up, we have about 8 ounces of these candied maraschino cherries. Now, interestingly, this was from a 12-ounce jar, so once drained and dried, I only had about 8 ounces of maraschino cherries. So apparently they're counting that packing liquid in the 12 ounces I'm being sold. Yeah, I'm onto you, big maraschino. Anyway, we just want to slice these in half. Now, you could actually leave these whole, but I feel like they're going to distribute better through our entire fruitcake if we slice them at least in half like this. Next, we're going to get inundated with these dates. Dates are really one of my favorite dried fruits of all time, but don't trick yourself into thinking this is healthy because it's fruit. The amount of sugar in there, this is basically candy. We just want to slice these down lengthwise and then into small-ish chunks. Yeah, small-ish. I think that's the technical term for it. And finally, we have our 8 ounces of these beautiful golden figs. We have one special consideration here, and that is on the stem end, there's this little bit of stem that can be rock hard. We don't want people biting down on that, so be sure and cut or pull those off as you're chopping these. Not all of them will have that, but a fair number will. We're going to cut these into quarters, but let's just cut one in half to look at how amazing the inside of these are. Yeah, if you think it gets any better than that, just forget about it. Sorry, forgive me, I know that was just terrible. Okay, now that we have all of our fruit prepped, there's one more step here that is going to help the fruit not only not stick together, but not sink down to the bottom of the cake as it's baking. Now, for this recipe, we're going to be using a total of 3 cups of flour. So I already have that measured. We're going to use 3 or 4 tablespoons here just to coat our fruit. Try and get all of those sticky figs and dates separated and coated with just a little bit of flour. Once we have that all coated, it's time to make the cake portion of our Christmas fruitcake. Starting with 1 cup of melted butter. You could use whatever fat you would like here. Along with 1 cup of sugar and 3 eggs. And give those a quick mix. That just makes it a little easier to incorporate this into our flour and other dry ingredients. So let's go ahead and add our remaining 3 cups of flour along with 2 teaspoons of baking soda and a half a teaspoon of salt. And finally, a half a cup of cocoa powder. Now I know that might seem strange, but chocolate really does work great with all of those fruit flavors. So let's get that worked together, and we do have one final ingredient here that I like to wait to add until this point, and that is 1/2 a cup of milk. And just gently incorporate that. Don't be too rough. You don't want to be accused of battery. Once that comes together for us, we just want to incorporate our dredged fruit into the batter. We don't need to overmix this. We just want to fold our fruit and batter around until we get everything nicely distributed. Now, I like a bundt pan for this, but a springform pan would also work well. I'm going to give that a light coating of oil. No need to flour if it's non-stick. And we'll just load in our beautiful chocolate fruitcake batter here and even it out as best we can. Once we've given it that obligatory little wiggle to make sure everything's nicely settled, we're off to a preheated 350-degree oven where we're going to bake this for between 45 and 55 minutes. Or until a toothpick comes out clean. We can actually let this cool in the pan if we want to, and once it is cool, you want to wrap it tightly in plastic wrap and tin foil and leave it at least overnight. I really feel like this cake is better the next day. And this cake also freezes amazingly well. Now, you can definitely serve this as is. It doesn't need anything else, but I decided just to give it a light dusting of sugar to make it a little prettier. But of course the colander I had was new, so it wound up being more like a giant deluge of sugar. Hey, that's okay. I meant to do that. That was the plan the whole time. Anyway, let's go ahead and grab a slice of this amazing chocolate, fig, date, and cherry fruitcake. We can see that fruit stayed in place perfectly for us here. My wife and I were actually surprised by how much we loved this. The dates, figs, cherries, and chocolate all work wonderfully together, so if you're looking for an alternative to the standard Christmas fruitcake, I highly recommend you give this one a try. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Passion for Food. If you have, don't forget to smash the like button and keep an eye on the date for our next episode. So what foods are you passionate about? Let me know in the comments below and check out one of our other great recipes playing on the screen now. This has been Graham with Passion for Food.